Hey, good morning, SCA. It is Monday, September 25th. Pastor Jordy here. Did you know on this day in 1926, Henry Ford announced an 8-hour, 5-day work week for workers at the Ford Motor Company? So that began our Monday to Friday week. Pretty cool, hey? I had heard once that if we went to school a few more minutes in a day, we can get out like early June, but that means we have to be here longer. Interesting. Hey, last week was a great week. Grade 10 retreat was unbelievable. So fun. A little bit cold in the morning, decent weather in the afternoon. I love those days. The next retreat is grade 7s. You guys are going for a half-day retreat on Monday, October 2nd. And we are heading out, I believe, to Camp Van Ness. Last week also was the Meet the Teacher Night, or we call it Tacos with Teachers. Many hundreds of parents came out. Super fun. Hey, I got to go quick. So let's do some announcements fast. Musical theater workshops are continuing this week. There is one today after school, 3:30 in the Commons. Mrs. Jones is all that. Today, my lead class, we are today 11:45, and I'm check your texts for which classroom we are in. The dance club has started last week. It goes again this Thursday at lunch. Mrs. Puttick and Carter Winkle are going to head that up. Again, room 209, that's the room above the gym. Got an email here regarding junior high talent show auditions September 27 and 28 from 12 to 12:30 in Mrs. Jones's room. Okay, September 27, 28 auditions, junior high talent show. What's next? Craft Club. That's awesome. Happening again this Friday, the 29th. Where is it going to be? In the Commons. Mrs. Ploy, you're awesome. Character dress up day, ladies and gentlemen. Wednesday, October 4th. So the staff meeting for Wednesday, October 4th. Big dress up day. Of course, 12 noon on the dot. We are doing a yearbook picture on the stairs in the link. So dress up for that day. Be decent, of course. Yeah. Hey, on what am I doing? After school? No. Grade 12 students. Don't forget on October 1st, Apply Alberta opens up for you guys to submit your post-secondary applications and marks and all that kind of stuff. So if you have any questions about that, you see Mrs. Matheson. Yeah, I just went down and checked the board underneath the stairs in the link, and there was 2 things that I didn't know. Concordia University is coming September 29th at lunch. Tell you all about Concordia University. Again, more questions goes to Mrs. Matheson. And on the board, the menu at the Eagle's Nest for the whole week. Ladies and gentlemen, there's one more thing coming up this week, and it's very special. I want to bring in my good friend, Mr. Winkle. Some people say Winkle, but I'm just going to say Winkle. Mr. Winkle, are you there?
I'm here. Can you see me?
I can see you. You can talk a little louder. That'd be cool.
I can talk louder? Okay.
There we go. Hey, I call it Orange Shirt Day. I know we talked in rehearsal. We don't really rehearse. That you're going to give some little corrections on that, but take it away. We got a very special week coming up.
Pastor Jordy, thanks for having me on here. And students, I know most of you think of Orange Shirt Day as something that comes once a year. And it's a very important day, and it's a great thing to recognize. I do want to point out that we want to try and understand that this day actually has a more official title, and that's the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Officially, people started celebrating or recognizing, I should say, Orange Shirt Day in 2013. But in 2021, the government passed some legislation to recognize nationally what we call the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. And Pastor Jordy has asked me to share a little bit about what this day is. And so I'm really honored to be here. Maybe you understand a little bit about how Canada became a country. You've learned that in social studies. You've probably learned about the word colonization, where members or individuals from one country visit a new land and sort of set up government and take over that land. And that is part of our legacy as a country. this idea of colonization. And of course, the term is much more than what I just described, but for a video on a Monday morning, just keeping my description a little on the simple side. There were people living here since time immemorial. Maybe you've heard that phrase before. That means for many, many, many thousands of years. There were people living in the land, the country we now call Canada. And when our European ancestors came here, not my personal ancestors, but when European countries learned of all the resources and riches that they could earn in this this new place called Canada that they came to call Canada, they set up a government there, and they did a lot of things that were extremely unacceptable in terms of the way we treat people. And one of the things, there's hundreds of years of history there, and you are so blessed to have such amazing social studies teachers to take you through this history in a very careful, methodical way. Again, I can't quite do that all this morning. But one thing that the Day of Truth and Reconciliation highlights is the legacy of residential schools. You've probably learned a little bit about these. Once this land was colonized and the indigenous people who lived here were sort of forced to find a way to live within this new country called Canada, that was run in a very different way than they had governed their own societies for years. The government of Canada set up these schools and claimed that they set up the schools in order to bring education to indigenous people. And what happened quickly was that these schools became places of extreme discrimination. Students were mistreated. Students were abused. Kids were taken, sometimes forcibly, from their homes and put in these schools and forced to leave their families for 11 months of the year. They were stripped of their cultural identity, forced to speak a language they didn't understand, usually English or French, if they were in Quebec. And they weren't allowed to practice their culture or see their families. And we recognize now that this was a horrible thing. Again, I can't express this enough, how important it is that we take time this week and we stop, think, and reflect on what happened in our history and how we live in the present and then think about moving forward. So this word reconciliation on the end of the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, this word reconciliation, what does it mean? Well, it's a word that requires consideration, empathy, thought, concern, reflection. These aren't quick things. It's not a checklist. I hope you remember what Pastor Jamie said at the first assembly. And he talked about how Christianity, our faith, is not just a checklist. We don't just hold up a checklist and say, oh, I went to church, I prayed before I ate dinner, and I said a Bible verse at school today. I'm a Christian, cool. We know that our faith requires more than that, and so does reconciliation. It's not a checklist where we say, oh, I wore an orange shirt, and I, had a moment of silence, and I'm good. I've done my part. We need to stop. We need to learn about people's experiences. We need to know what happened to other people, and that's how we move forward. Understanding how other people have lived and grown up and what they've experienced, what their parents have experienced. The last residential school closed in the 90s, and I was 13 years old at that time. So this isn't ancient history. This is a live issue, and this is a national discussion that we want to invite our students to be part of. We want to encourage people to wear an orange shirt this Friday. And that's a really good thing to do. Don't just put the shirt on and be part of a photo and rah and celebrate. No, that's not the tone of the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. The tone is more like Remembrance Day. It's reflective, it's somber, and we take our time with some of those thoughts. Pastor Jordy and I were talking before filming this, and Pastor Jordy shared a Bible verse with me. I'd like to share it with you. It's from the book of James, chapter 3, verse 17, and it says this: "Wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure. Then it's peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy, full of good fruit, impartial and sincere." Let's be sincere in our recognition of the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Let's be sincere. Let's be full of mercy. Let's be peacemakers. Let's be considerate of the fact that other people have lived different lives than us, walked different roads than us. That's what this day is about. It's very important to me personally, and I hope that our students can come to recognize how important it is as well. Pastor Jordy, that's all I really wanted to say about the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation.
I appreciate your words. I'm just reflecting, so I'm in a bit of a somber mood, and I hope we can do that this week. SCA, you're classy. Let's do this together. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Winkle. Let's have a great week as we consider this. Okay, take care, SCA. Have a good week.